We are back with another recovery of the month with Fortress Physical Therapy. Dr. Amy here with you guys today. Thanks for joining in. This one is going to be a little bit more focused on the posterior leg or thigh and the front aspect of the thigh. We are going to have on my whiteboard here 4 different movements. Now, depending on your time constraint, somewhere between 3 and 4 sets, maybe 2 sets. But this is going to help these hamstrings on the back and some of the quad muscles on the front, as well as kind of focusing on this ball and socket joint of our hip. As you can see, I have on the floor, you might want to grab a towel or perhaps something soft because we're going to do some kneeling today. So make sure you have that with you during this routine. First movement is getting into this half kneeling position, and we're going to stretch one hamstring and then the other hamstring. And each of this movement or position for the hamstrings, we're going to hold that for about 30 seconds. So this is where a pad for your knee comes in. So we're going to get into this half kneeling position. Actually, I'm going to switch legs. Start with this guy first. And my back foot is kind of in this pointed position, so laces down, and my front leg is going to be out in front. Okay? As I sit back gently, that was my kneecap. It's okay. I am focusing on this front leg to stretch into the hamstring. So right now I'm decently flexible. So we're trying to maintain our knee to stay straight. If we can tolerate this full bent knee position, kind of heel sitting. And if we're able to kind of flex gently, bringing our toes up towards our eyes, you can feel a more intense stretch if you're able to. I'm going to hold this for about maybe 10 more seconds, and then I'm going to switch to the other leg. So we're going to shoot for 30 seconds on each leg into this half kind of kneeling or split hamstring stretch. All right. So we're going to slowly come out of that. I'm going to show you a different modification for this half kneeling split hamstring stretch. So there's that full sitting back onto one knee, as I just demonstrated. And there's also a different alternative to kind of maybe get a little bit more lower back or glute involved with this. So I'm going to get into this half kneeling position again. So I'm just demonstrating on my other leg. And I'm going to kick out my foot like so, staying in this straight leg position. And all I'm going to do, runner stance, hand position. Ooh, I already feel it. I feel this more at a higher aspect of my hamstring. You might feel it high as well. And again, we're trying to maintain the straight knee position. Now, my foot, same concept. I'm going to be a little bit more active here. So I'm letting my foot relax, but if I actively draw my toes towards me, I feel a little bit more stretch. In fact, that stretch for me transitions from up here to being a little bit more behind my knee. So I'm going to hold that. Oh, now the stretch shifted from the knee. Now it's back up to the hamstring for me. And you can kind of flex that foot down, flex the foot up. Again, we're going to be about 30 seconds in each position. I'm going to hold for about 5 more. All right. Ooh, that was pretty gnarly. Okay, so we're going to sit on the floor. This is our next movement. This was going to be a little bit more directed to the hip joint or the ball and socket joint. So put your blanket off to the side or pillow. We're going to get into this, what I call this cheerleader position. If you were like me, I grew up in the 90s. I remember people getting their senior picture poses like this. Anywho, okay, so like a 90-90 is what we call this position. So we're at about like a 90-degree flexion at our hip, about a 90-degree angle at our knee. Same thing in this position. of our back leg, we're in this 90-90. So what we're gonna do, I call these 90-90 cheerleader trunk rotations. Excuse me, we're gonna go 5 clockwise, 5 counterclockwise. This is what it looks like. I'm bending forward as much as my hip will let me. I'm rotating my trunk while maintaining my legs in contact with the ground. So I'm going in this nice big clockwise position, making sure that when I do get to this back spot, that this front leg does not come up. I'm driving it down. You will, once you transition over this leg, kind of feel like a sticking point. That's okay. We're just really trying to get into this hip ball and socket joint. Plus we get a little bit of a back stretch here. I think I'm on number 4. Just nice, easy. I'm going to stay in this position, and I'm just going to go into counterclockwise. So again, you will have this sticking point over this front hip. 5 that way. Really trying to maintain my legs in contact with the ground as best as I can. There, that's kind of loosening up on that front of the hip. I kind of lost count. This will be my last one. And then we're going to switch our hip position to mirror image ourselves. So I'm just going to turn this way. That way you can see me a little bit more, maybe coming from this side. So again, same position. Right, 90 degree at the hip in this front, about 90 at the knee. Coinciding with our foot, and the same thing with the back leg. We're trying to get into this 90 degree or frontal plane here on this aspect of the back side of the thigh bone, and then maintaining this 90 degree angle here at the knee, and then even sneaking in this 90 degree angle at the ankle. So I'm going to start on this front side here, just very gently using my arms to help rotate my trunk. There's my little sticking point. That's okay. I feel a little bit more, maybe freedom, I guess, on this side. So I'm going to go 5, in this case, counterclockwise. And then 5 clockwise. Ooh, you might get a little bit of back popping and clicking. That's okay. Last one, just for time's sake here. All right, and then I'm going to switch to the other direction. So why? Why am I doing this like trunk rotation around the hips? Well, think about this too. So our hips are a ball and socket joint. They have to move both ways, meaning the ball has to rotate in the socket, and also when our legs are stable, the socket needs to rotate around the ball. So, in this case, legs are stable, our socket is rotating around the stable ball. All right. We have 2 more movements, which are primarily going to be hamstring and a little bit more of quad stretch at the end. So we're going to get in this long sit position and just a seated pike stretch. You're going to feel both legs, nice hamstring stretch. Okay. It's okay if we round our back. My goal is to kind of sink into this double straight leg hamstring stretch. We're going to hold this for about a minute. I might cut this short a little bit, but the goal is about 1 minute in this position. I can feel my spine loosening up. Now I feel a lot more directed into kind of like maybe the middle aspect of my hamstring down towards the knees. If you want a little bit more stretch, You're gonna grab your toes, kind of pull them toward you. Woo. Now I feel that kind of behind my knees. If this is difficult for you and you find yourself with your knees kind of bent and it's hard for you to reach forward, you can take your towel or blanket, roll it up, and sit on it. So when you elevate the butt, it puts you in a better position that you can easily get into this trunk flexion and target the hamstrings a little bit more. So our last movement is going to get into the front thigh or the quad muscles. So this leads us back to grabbing probably our pillow or towel to protect our knee. I'm going to kind of show you maybe this way. Go this way here. So I'm going to kneel on my left knee to begin with, just like this. And I'm going to lean forward. And I'm going to flex my back leg and reach over my kneeling knee for the top side of my foot. I should feel a nice stretch on my front thigh of the knee that I'm kneeling on. If you don't feel it as much, perhaps you might be able to get into this kneeling taller position. Feel that guy. So with these half kneeling quad stretch here, we're going to hold it for about 30 seconds on the right, 30 on the left. Nice long stretch. Again, if this is too much for you, maybe you're in this position. But this particular stretch, we're not going to use the wall, aka or a couch stretch. I want to get some spine rotation in this. And then gently release. I want to show you facing the camera with my other leg. So again, half kneeling. The leg that I'm going to stretch is the one that I'm kneeling on. I'm going to lunge forward a little bit. I'm going to reach over the top leg that is bent. I feel that nice stretch here in the front of my thigh. If I want a little more, let's see if I can balance myself. There we go. Kind of get more in a tall kneeling. And I'm pulling that foot towards my butt. I'll show you what that looks like from behind. This is what it looks like. I'm bringing that foot or heel as close to my butt as I can to feel that stretch. Not everyone can get there, and that's okay. Okay, awesome. So those are your 4 different movements. 30 seconds half kneeling split hamstring stretch into 10 90-90 hip trunk rotations, or cheerleaders is what I call those. 5 clockwise, 5 counterclockwise. A 60-second or 1 minute straight leg pike hamstring stretch, and then ending with that half kneeling quad stretch. Pending your time constraints, perhaps 2 to 4 rounds. Let's open those hips and get a little more movement into that ball and socket joint.